Live. F it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
Ah, yes. Again, things.
Are we going to have
make
Bill
me
O'Reilly
happy.
bring us into the show every week?
Not every week. I've done it several times. It's not every week, but it does make me happy. Because it's so over the top. It's like, come on, Bill. I'm just trying to think if I've ever been that frustrated at work. And the answer is yes.
Gosh, yes. I'm just going to start to let's
Yes.
share. So welcome back to another Doctales with Cocktails with us this fine Wednesday. If you're tuning in on the Monday commute, welcome. We have, before we even get into your dirty, dark secrets of when you've been as frustrated as Bill O'Reilly, tonight we are talking about a little medical history. I won't even give the name away of what Tim's going to talk about. We have two special cocktails this week that we are sampling, and I'm going to talk about carbonated water, sparkling water. Is it good for you, bad for you, or otherwise? And wherever else, wherever else the conversation leads us.
Remember when we were in
tonight,
Italy? It's like, we would like some water. Did you want still?
Yes, still water. That's a different thing altogether.
Yeah. So,
but
otherwise, they just bring you sparkling water, and otherwise, you have to ask specifically for a still.
But back
no,
to
I like water that comes from a still because then it's vodka.
Let's get back to you and Bill O'Reilly. So, little known fact, I'm going to spill the beans on Tim's temper tantrum days. When he would get so frustrated at work. Well, a lot of things would happen. And I know if there's somebody that's on here that used to work with him, they will just start laughing and start typing in. But I'll just give one away. He was given a special phone.
It was called the Damn It phone.
Because back in the day with the phones that had the little LED, they had the LED crystals in there that displayed the phone numbers. Tim what was it? One time you got so mad you took the handle of that thing and smashed the hell literally out of the phone that it blew the crystal. So
yeah, the crystal had a subdural hematoma and was the liquid of the liquid crystal oozed out.
And you got to keep that phone as your little Tinker Toy temper tantrum phone, and then they got you a new one, but it stayed behind. And whenever he got,
they said if you get pissed off, just break the one you already broke. Don't break the new one.
That's right. So
I also took a pager and beat it to death with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, that was at home.
Yes,
because
and
you were getting paged so much that it was frustrating him. So what did he do? Just to shut everybody up, he beat the shit out of it with a hammer, and then I started laughing at you because
I called the hospital. I said, "You're gonna have to call me at home because my pager it doesn't work." And then I took it in the next day, and I said, "I need a new pager." And they're I said, "I beat this one to death with a hammer," and they were like, they just giggled because they thought it was a joke. And I'm like, "No, I literally beat this to death with a hammer."
And you didn't have to pay for it. Now you'd probably get charged with
abuse
of an
it would be electronic
abuse. Mm-hmm. Pagers have feelings.
Pagers have feelings too,
and they're offended when you beat them.
I'm a pager, but I identify as a cell phone.
Mm-hmm. So, how's summer going for you? Otherwise,
summer's going pretty good.
Yeah,
doing a lot of water skiing, did a little riding. Got to go for a ride, meet a friend for lunch today. Rode back to our old property to get some stuff coordinated as far as doing some paving.
And
it's coming together, kids. We're almost out of here.
I have finally bought myself an inflatable paddleboard, and it has not been inflated yet.
It's still in the box.
It's still in the box.
Needs to be inflated.
So if anybody out there wants to go with me, let me know, because I need to take this baby out for a test run. Otherwise, I don't know. I guess I'll be messing around the yard. Since my elbow is good to go, that's what I'm
just waiting for the inflatable paddleboard versus gator.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I'm like, maybe I should just send this thing back because where am I going to use it?
Inflatable paddleboard versus gator. You know, you should be really nervous if you inflate that thing to take to the lake in Florida, and I'm like rubbing it down with maple syrup and chicken
Chickens.
blood.
I think there will be a lot
Maple
of
syrup
other
and chicken blood
opportunities
all over.
and lakes and places along the way of my life that I will get to use it. So
Yes,
it does not have
you
to
could take it
necessarily
into the
be
Gulf.
in
You could
a
take,
gator pond.
yeah, I mean, you could, yeah. Well, every pond in Florida is a
Well,
gator pond.
maybe
It's not like they have special ones.
Well,
They're all gator
So
ponds.
there's no snow skiing hills in Florida either.
No,
So
but that's why God made airplanes to go to Salt Lake
Well,
City, which takes 3 hours.
maybe I will take my inflatable paddleboard with me.
Maybe you will.
Hey, people take kids in car seats.
People take
Why
cats
not?
in cat carriers.
And bunnies. So on our last trip home, we didn't post this photo, but there was a lady. Tim's like, look at the lady with the bunny. So I'm thinking it's going to be this little bunny rabbit like our daughter has. And he's like, no, this rabbit has the size of a, what did you say, Doberman Pinscher?
No, it had like a Rottweiler sized head.
And it was do you remember the breed of the bunny?
It was
Starts with an L.
it was a something giant, a Belgian giant.
It wasn't a.
Yeah, it was a Belgian giant.
I thought it was like a.
It was a 17-pound rabbit.
Large bunnies. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah,
look up
Belgian
the name.
giant.
You think? Flemish.
Oh, Flemish giant. Yeah, right. Flemish. The Belgium. It's the same damn thing.
Well,
Flemish.
anyway, he was
It's
attracting.
like
a
every
lot
time
of
I hear
attention.
Flemish, I'm like, I'm a little
kind of
Flemish.
Not me. I think of
A little Flemish.
people in Flemland.
Flemish. It's Belgium. You're Flemish if you're from Belgium. It's the same
Anyway,
thing.
The bunny was attracting.
Why are you
of,
Flemish if you're from Belgium? Do they have allergies and a lot of post-nasal drip or something?
You can't say Belgianese, I guess. I don't know.
You're Flemish. You're from Belgium and you're Flemish.
Maybe you're Belgian.
Belgian would make sense, but it is Flemish.
It's a language.
From Belgium.
I think it's a language.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe.
Yeah.
Like if you're from the Philippines, most people in the Philippines speak Tagalog.
Well, yes, but you're not Tagalog. You're Filipino.
You're not Tagalog.
Okay.
You're a Filipino or a Filipino.
This has gone down a bunny trail.
It's actually gone down a 17-pound Flemish giant bunny trail.
Yeah. Anyway, it attracted a lot of.
Can you imagine
kid
the rabbit
attention.
hole that rabbit goes down? That is a big freaking rabbit hole.
That's a big rabbit hole. He took you down.
That's a big rabbit hole. Oh man, we better get going. We're already 7 minutes into it. We've already bored the living shit out of Pete. It's like, you better be drunk because I'm not going to be able to listen.
Oh my. Well, what medical history hoo-ha do you have for us today?
Okay, so this has always been a big even before all the infectious disease COVID nonsense and questioning of what the hell's going on. I've always been kind of an advocate of what is the single most important, what is the single most powerful medical intervention that's ever happened as far as changing health. And I've been convinced of this for as soon as I started doing this research, which was probably 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The most significant contribution to health, especially public health and the health of populations and the health of human beings, and not having your kids die when they're 5 years old. Because you got to remember, in 1900, 30% of all deaths were children 5 years old and younger. So the thing that's really crazy is the biggest benefit to health by any intervention
would be
comes not from medicine.
Not from chest feeding?
No, not from strangely, not from giving men a shit ton of hormones so that they can chest feed infants. Although some men could chest feed the infant and the infant could floss its teeth
could be thinking,
at the same time on the areola hairs.
In all seriousness, though, people could be thinking breastfeeding with passing on immunity from the mom. Healthy nutrients.
Yeah, but that wasn't a technical innovation. That happened in the Garden of Eden. The whole
I missed the technical innovation.
Yeah, no, they're like, breastfeeding.
Then how about none? There was no technical innovations back in the 1800s.
No, there was. There's so the greatest help to healthcare.
Light.
Greatest thing ever that happened in healthcare as far as actually changing the world did not come from the world of medicine. It came from the world of engineering. And that I find very interesting, and it makes the most sense. We look to healthcare and healthcare systems to keep us healthy. That's not what keeps anybody healthy. What keeps you healthy is living in a relatively or very clean environment, having food that's good, and the higher quality, the better, getting exercise, getting sunlight, having clean water, etc. So if you rotate this back about 150 years, when all of this started, what matters the most is clean water and not walking through sewage. So so what happened is there's this guy named George Waring, and George Waring became very famous because he was in his late 20s, and he was the drainage engineer that actually helped build Central Park. So he built, because Central Park was essentially a swamp, and he built a drainage system that allowed them to have these ponds in Central Park and make this beautiful park that exists to this day. Some of the most expensive real estate in the world is around there. So he became really famous in water drainage systems and sanitation. Now, the thing that's interesting about this is Central Park was built in the late 1850s. Okay, germ theory never really came around in earnest until Koch's postulates, which was 1884. So Memphis had this terrible problem. They had cholera epidemics, one right after the other, as well as yellow fever epidemics. So they called George Waring. He's pretty famous by this time. And it was around 1880. He goes in and he looks at it and he goes, well, you get flooding. And when you get flooding, it backs up from all the outhouses and whatnot. And it literally floods the streets of Memphis with feces. Ergo, your cholera epidemics. So what happened was Memphis didn't have very much money. That was before Graceland.
Oh, speaking of flooding and feces, side note story that happened at our house where I grew up in. We have basements, and the
sewer backed up.
sewage drainage. There was don't ask me why the pipes. There was like an actually pump out sewer pipe. It was closed, but they could only close so tight. I guess ours wasn't on correctly. I don't know the whole story of that. I don't remember. You would if it was your house. But anyway, we had a sewage
if the
backup.
neighbor's turd was floating by like a little
We
ship.
had this massive sewage
The shit
backup
ship.
with the flood
Look,
because of
it's a ship.
It was spring. It was raining. There's still snow on the ground, and everyone's sewers they had gotten frozen, backed up, and it was a probably 4 foot deep pool of shit, and in everybody's basement, ours included, and everybody had these sump pumps going, pumping them out up because everybody had these egress windows into the basement, and it was just so gross because everybody's pumping this stuff out into the snow outside their house onto the lawn. Imagine that.
So you got to live. You got to live in 1860s
and
New
we
York
joked
City.
about it, saying, we had a built-in swimming pool, but after that, everybody had their septic pump or septic drainage thing sealed completely. So anyway, I've lived through that. So go.
So,
Go
anyways,
ahead.
yeah, that's nice. That was a nice
that was in the
aside.
70s.
Sure, people. So at any rate, they go there, and Memphis doesn't have a ton of money to build these giant drainage systems. So George, smartly, he looks at it and he goes, let's have a black water and a gray water sewage system. Until 1880, no one had ever done that before, where it's like the poo goes in the black water and then goes out to wherever they drained it back then. And the rainwater goes in a completely different system and then can drain back into the river, estuaries, whatever. That was the dawn of modern sewage systems, which is amazing because it was cheaper, way cheaper. Because otherwise what you had to do is have these massive pipes that could hold all the rainwater and all the sewage, and then they could never get plugged up and they would have to drain. When they separated them, they could use smaller pipes because there's less sewage than rainwater, and you would never overwhelm the system. And all of the epidemics of cholera went away.
You could overwhelm a system in 1970, as I experienced.
Yeah, if you lived where it freezes and rains at the same damn time.
Oh, that was so gross.
So
imagine cleaning.
So their cholera epidemics went away. And interestingly, we don't have cholera epidemics because we have really good sewage systems and water treatment plants. And we don't have a cholera vaccine that we vaccinate people for. Why? Because we have gray and black water sewage systems. Thank you, George Waring. So then he kicks ass and takes names in Memphis. So they invite him to New York City, the world's maybe then and now biggest steaming shithole.
Nah, not necessarily. Just parts of it.
Well, yeah, it was then. Because in 1895, okay, so that's not that long ago. Okay, that's like 130 years ago. Horses were leaving an estimated 2.5 million pounds of horse shit and 60,000 gallons of horse urine on the streets of New York City every day.
Oh, holy shit.
Every day. Can you imagine
what
New York City smelled like in 1895?
It's something that you don't think about. You watch those period TV shows and you see the horses in town and their little carriage and buggies, and you're watching Bridgerton, but nobody really thinks about all the waste. You're right.
And then garbage would pile up 2 or 3 feet
didn't
deep.
The rich horse people,
because they didn't have plastic bags to put garbage in, so they just threw their shit outside. And
yuck.
Horses would die because no one would tie them up, right? Like they're done delivering milk or whatever with their horse, so they would just leave it at their house, and they die and they tip over, and no one had like a crane to take the dead horses out, so they would just rot in the street as well.
As they age, they just left them there in the streets?
Yeah, it's somebody else's problem. So the reason brownstones, those super expensive apartments you live in downtown New York City and Boston, are called brownstones is from the horse shit.
Really?
Yes.
Not throwing it out the chamber pot out the window.
Right. Well, and that's what you would do, right? And so George Waring literally came up with this idea of having all these sanitation workers. They said you can't have a horse in the street when it's nighttime. The horse has to go to a stable so they could contain everything there. And then they had like this army of people
that would start shoveling,
that would clean the streets up.
Mm-hmm.
And then as time went on, they brought in sewer systems and then water treatment plants and whatever. So that is the beginning of really what battled infectious disease.
Wow.
Was just cleaning,
And we get worked up about people not picking up their little dog doo-doo in the nice little bags when they take them for a walk.
But that's exactly right? Okay, your Pomeranian just like shit a dime, and that somehow you didn't clean it up, and you're the worst person in the world. Maybe you could tolerate 1 million pounds of horse manure. Maybe 1 million pounds.
Well, can you imagine
but
Africa,
2.5 million pounds
riding an elephant? What it's like in India?
Yeah, but it's dirt. Like when you're riding on dirt, it's different than when you're like, and that's what people don't understand.
No,
it's
all the people moving around on elephants over there, and how many? Remember we looked that up one time. How many pounds an elephant craps in one day? It's
a lot.
It was like 500 pounds worth or something.
No, it's crazy. But I'm just like, people that are like, it's getting worse. It's never been this bad. Well, some things maybe have never been this bad as far as, our dependence on technology and all of these things.
Health of society.
But modern life is way better than 2.5 million pounds of horse shit in your streets. And that's what's so crazy about when you look at modern innovations like, AC electricity that you can transmit for thousands of miles. And, the estimates, if you took the power grid out, is in 6 months, you'd kill, what is it? Like 80 or 90% of the people in the United States would be dead because all the critical infrastructure is done. You don't have water treatment plants. You don't have garbage disposal. You don't have air conditioning. You don't have hospitals. You don't have production of medications. You don't have all that stuff just goes away.
Wow.
And
frightening.
Yeah.
How much we rely on electricity.
Right.
And not so frightening on how much we rely on clean sanitary conditions.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because you hear all this talk about, vaccines change the world, and they very well may have, or antibiotics change the world, and they very well, they definitely, they have to a certain degree. How long that will remain a good thing, we don't know, but they have changed the world. Modern medicine has changed the world. Well, modern medicine hasn't done jack diddly doo dah compared to sanitation systems and water treatment plants. Like, that is so far exceeds everything else that goes on in healthcare that you cannot even, like, we take it for granted because it works so well and it's so cheap. Yet we spend $4.1 trillion on healthcare. I mean, it really is crazy. Like, it's really crazy. Like, what are we treating for $4.1 trillion? We're treating chronic illnesses from eating terrible and not exercising and not getting enough sunshine and God knows what else. And probably.
And we still haven't conquered the 4 horsemen, as Peter Attia says.
Probably drinking too much Mountain Whiskey Company, Montana Whiskey Company bourbon. This stuff is fantastic. It comes in a little stainless steel
it reminds me of those old thermoses that my grandfather
used to have. And I think I'm going to keep this.
I think I'm going to keep this. Vintage.
It fits perfectly. Someone told me this. It fits perfectly in a cup holder of a car. And I think I'm going to fill it with iced tea just to screw with people.
But wait.
And drive around.
It really is a nice lightweight metal lid. I think that if you could have a screw off top so that you could put, like, if it was wider at the top so you could fit ice cubes in, it'd be perfect with the flip top lid. But then you could reuse it. But it's a very vintage looking. I really like it.
It's really good.
And how's the taste?
The taste is fantastic.
I actually
and somehow some sick perverted bastard
there's none left.
Broke into my house and drank all this.
Yeah, so somehow there's none left. I did have a sip of it, and I'm not a bourbon drinker.
You're not a whiskey drinker at all. And you still liked it.
It actually was very good. That would be the thing that would convert me, is that one right there. Very yummy.
It is very yummy.
So,
and we found it.
Thanks for being thanks for being on our show.
That's yes, we got this donated from one of the owners of the company, believe it or not,
who we are friends with. So yes, thank you very much, Scott.
That's all we'll say, because we don't want to incriminate. We don't want to incriminate him with our show that equally offends everybody.
And if he wants to be equally offended, he could pay us money and give us more whiskey, and we will. There you go.
And we will offend at will.
And then, all right, I did a little Instagram.
We don't have actually. Yes, we'll offend for free, and if we get paid.
So get this, I did a little Instagram teaser. You recorded it live when I came home with this bottle earlier this week, because I found this for me and all the rest of us that don't like whiskey at the store. And here's the green bottle. It is Blue Chair Bay, and I'm drinking key lime rum cream. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm usually not a rum person. Of course, this stuff is mixed, delicious, and it's Caribbean rum with real cream, key lime, and other natural flavors. It is like the best key lime martini I used to ever get was from P.F. Chang's, where they would mix it perfectly so that it was thick and it tasted like eating key lime pie, and they'd rim the glass with graham crackers, and it was like dessert. Well, this is the closest thing. I put mine on ice, put a little lime in it. There's recipes that you can find online how to mix it with pineapple juice, etc. But this is so delicious. And the cool thing about these flavors, this company that makes Blue Chair Bay flavored, they're all less than 99 tropical calories for 1.5 ounces, though. But very delicious. And get this. This company has like mocha rum cream, banana rum cream. So what if I drank
16 ounces? Then
mango rum cream. We'll do the math. The company is owned by Kenny Chesney. And now I'm not a big country person, but
apparently he's a country singer.
So yeah, I was inspired by the island lifestyle and of singer-songwriter Kenny Chesney. And it's fully owned by him. And yeah,
No, and it tastes
made with
it,
it's made with sugarcane molasses, natural ingredients, and this stuff is very delicious. So
it is really good. So good job, Kenny.
yeah, I would say the other thing about this is you can make key lime colada, which would be key lime rum cream, and then you put in some of their coconut rum, plain pineapple juice, orange juice, cream of coconut, and ice. But I like my stuff pretty pure. So yes, very nice, light, summery. Basically, it's like Bailey's in a glass.
Well, it's a premixed cocktail is what it is. It's 15%, so it's a premixed cocktail.
So that's what I'm
good.
enjoying. Cheers. I think
I got more than 99 calories.
You got like a whole glass of milk going on right there.
Well, if milk tasted like this.
I know, right? Whew. So, speaking of other beverages, I have been buying different kinds of flavored water, sparkling water. Who hasn't, right? Don't we seem to do that more in the summer? I don't know why we're buying it, because we do own a Soda Stream machine.
And I love my
sitting
Soda Stream
on the
machine.
counter, and it has not been used since we
Well,
moved.
we moved. It's hidden.
It's not hidden. It's on the counter.
That's
hidden to
it's
him.
clearly hidden.
Clearly.
It's right behind the butter in the refrigerator, which is
The butter's
literally
not even in the refrigerator.
in stealth mode.
There you go. That's the answer to that. So, man, I don't know what anybody's favorite sparkling water is. LaCroix, there's Spindrift, there's Bubbly, there's Target brand. What are their common ones? Perrier,
Well, Perrier's
its own thing.
it's kind of
Anyway, LaCroix is kind of the most known, and then there's all the offshoots of the no-name brands, but Bubbly's a kind of common, cheaper one. All right, so we have had these. I've been drinking them again. It's summer, and I'm like, I am not a big water drinker, and I like flavor, and I usually put lime in my water, and they give me canker sores, all that acid from the lime in there. So after, a week of this canker sore, I'm like, enough already. Smart thing to do would be to put other fruit in there, like raspberries or strawberry, but no, I'm like going for the sparkling sodas. And all of a sudden, for the last 2 weeks, I've been noticing, fluid retention, but I've gained some weight. And suddenly I've noticed my weight gain, and I've been pretty stable with my weight for years. Well, probably since we quit residency, and it's after kids. So for the last 25 years, my weight is pretty much the same, give or take 5 pounds. I have the same clothes
give or take
for 25
a
years.
good dump.
And I'm not bragging about it. What I'm saying is, all of a sudden, I'm ballooned and I cannot fit into pants. And I'm like, what the heck? So I'm analyzing and going, well,
ballooned.
Well, ballooned enough so that my pants don't fit. They're small balloons.
You ballooned like 3 pounds.
I didn't say the Hindenburg size or a giant basket balloon. I just said ballooned. Okay. I can't get my pants on. And I'm like, what is happening? My hormones now are stable. So then I'm going through all of that. And I'm like, well, obviously I had a hip replacement in January. I have been on limited, like no workout activities as I go through that drama, which we talk about now and then, but I can't really get very much further down the road than a mile. And I have not been able to pick up more than a cup of coffee or a bottle of booze, right? Because of my elbow surgery. So was that the problem? No, I start to think, I think there's a correlation between these sodas, these non-soda sodas, sparkling waters. And then that's when you remembered a coworker we used to work with had the same thing happen to her. She was actually tiny, very thin, tall, thin. You could knock her over with one hand. And then all of a sudden one summer she was drinking a bunch of these LaCroix, and she said, I don't know what's going on, but I've gained how many pounds? 5, 10 pounds. She gained quite a bit. Maybe it was more. So she quit and she lost the weight again. So I'm thinking, what the heck is happening? Is this a real phenomenon? And do these sparkling drinks make people gain weight? So I had to look it up. And are they good for you or bad for you? What the heck? Because if you look on the ingredients list, do you know what's in a thing of LaCroix? Have you ever looked?
I thought they had 0 sodium, the actual LaCroix.
Well,
Not that sodium makes you gain weight. That's also bullshit.
right. Well, so some of them do have sodium in them. Some of them
Yes.
so they'll have sodium citrate or citric acid as preservatives. And some of them do, like Spindrift is a brand that actually they actually use natural flavors, and they actually put real juice in there to the point where they have a little bit of sugar and it's 7 calories or something. But LaCroix itself is 0 calorie, and they claim that the only thing that's in there is the carbonated soda. So this is carbonated water, and natural flavors. Okay. So I'm like, well, how can this be? So I started doing a bunch of research on this, and I'm like, what are those natural flavors? So it really depends on the company, but get this. LaCroix apparently, which describes its natural flavors, and everybody wonders what's in it, is a sort of a secret, a trade secret. And the FDA has basically said, and I got to find it, that natural flavor is kind of a mysterious thing. The FDA does not define what's in it, but LaCroix says it's some kind of essence. And essence means you can use the word essence to constitute flavoring constituents derived from a spice, fruit or fruit juice, vegetable or vegetable juice, edible yeast, herb, bark, bud, root, leaf, or similar plant material, meat, seafood, poultry, eggs, dairy products, or fermentation products thereof. It can be anything in that realm, but it's some kind of essence flavor of that. And what I think LaCroix says that essence is just a feeling you get from drinking the beverage, or some kind of BS like that. So technically, there's no sodium citrate or citric acid in the LaCroix themselves. If you were drinking a ton of Spindrift brand, you'd have to consume a whole lot because it's only 7 calories.
Why does it make you swell up then?
Apparently, at one point, looks like 2019, some lady sued LaCroix because they did a test in which they thought that there was some compound called linalool, which is used to kill cockroaches. It's some insecticide. And then that went to court. But basically, I think that was some contaminated specimens. For the most part, LaCroix itself isn't making you blow up. What's happening is there's a research article that came out, and I found it in UCLA Health. It was published in 2002, and it showed that studies shows links drinking carbonated water to weight gain. And then what happens is the carbonated bubbles fill up your stomach, making your stomach distend. Of course, you're also consuming more fluid. And then what happens is when your stomach is full, it causes your stomach to secrete a hormone that's well known now called ghrelin. And ghrelin is a hunger hormone. It signals the body.
Whoa. Slow down, Sport
to
Shoe.
feel hungry.
So if it dilates your stomach, why would it make you feel hungry?
What's that?
Why would ghrelin be released if your stomach is distended?
Oh, well, not totally distended, but when you start to consume it, it starts to fill the stomach, and it says it's time to eat. So then you release the hunger hormone.
Okay,
and
so
when
that's the whole wetting.
And then
wetting your appetite.
When it gets to a certain point of fullness, then you're supposed to signal the satiety hormone. And that's why you're supposed to eat slower. Yeah.
Ghrelin and leptin.
So basically what happens, yes, it's not like you're getting stuffed full and then it signals it. It's as you start to consume, the carbonation goes in there. You're actually stimulating your hunger hormone, and you're actually also craving more sugary substances and sweet substances.
Yeah, because there's no calories.
Well. Exactly.
So there's no feedback loop.
So but there are studies that show people have gained weight on these, mostly because they just tend to overall eat more calories by consuming these.
Yeah, I still think it's a no-brainer trade for.
And
like,
they
if
did
you
a
drink-
study in rodents and in humans. The human study had 20 male participants drink carbonated or plain water, and the results matched the other rodent study that when you drink either unsweetened or artificially sweetened carbonated water, you'll have triple the blood levels of ghrelin than those that drank plain water.
Okay, that's powerful.
Yeah.
Now, it's all about trading. So if you're trading Pepsi or Coke or such things for carbonated water, no-brainer trade. You'll lose weight because you're getting rid of calories.
So all in all, here's what I looked up. So then I'm like, is it good? So basically, that's what was happening. All in all, carbonated water helps a lot of people to lose weight that normally would drink soda because they're substituting it for the low-calorie drink, and the carbonation can cause, gas, more burping. But other than that, it's really not harmful unless there's high amounts of citric acid. Some of them will have a lower pH and actually can be bad for your teeth. There's controversy on this. I found some studies that say that it's not low enough to really impact dental caries that much. And other people say, yeah, it could cause some dental damage. But other than that, if you struggle with drinking a lot of soda pop, I guess Starbucks sugary drinks, and you need something else, this is a good place to start with.
Well, actually, the place to start is right there.
No, that's not true. So the weight gain, I stopped drinking them, and lo and behold, I started flushing out some fluid. I think something else was going on, but I think I do crave more food and sugary drinks when I'm on that stuff.
Yeah.
So no more LaCroix for me.
Does Crystal Light added to water cause you to gain weight? Not specifically,
No.
but
I would. There's a lot of studies. We talked about this. Did we talk about this on the podcast about the data on aspartame, as well as artificial sweeteners being carcinogenic, and there's more information coming out.
I think the issue is
about
this:
the potential.
Yeah, the carcinogenic thing is a little bit kind of. It's close to the 2.5 million pounds of horseshit in New York City.
I disagree. But you
It-
changed your mind about a lot of things in medicine as the data has come out.
Yeah, it might be
You'd have
slightly
to consume
more
a
carcinogenic.
heck of a lot of
Right.
aspartame. I think the more harm from those artificial sweeteners is just that you tend to crave more sweet stuff
Yep,
in general
that's
because
clear.
your palate gets used to it.
Yep.
A, and then B, I still believe that natural is better. A little bit of honey or maple syrup or sugar is better for you.
No, I think the issue is,
And I've also done a lot of reading lately on how your body processes artificial sugars. It does tend to jack up your insulin levels more than plain sucrose in sugar. And so in the end, you might actually, I know that my favorite guy, James DeNick, says it. So does
Peter Attia.
Yeah, and Mercola, that those artificial sweeteners, they actually stimulate and push the insulin resistance.
Yeah,
more.
I think that's true. I
So-
think volume is a big deal if you want to have an artificially sweetened drink every once in a while. I don't think that's a big deal. I think
No,
the
But if
bigger
you're drinking them daily and all the time, it really does mess up your insulin metabolism and your insulin.
yes, and I think the bigger issue for people is, why do you have to have something sweet all the time? Like, you should kill that. You should nail the sweet tooth to the cross. Like, eventually you're going to have to cross that. Like, everyone that has lost weight and kept it off changes their palate.
Well, you know what they say, and Anthony Chaffee would say it, and same with anybody else that follows this total keto. It's like, well, why do you have to have blueberry? It's because you're craving sugar. And it's true. Sometimes I'm like absolutely craving sugar and I eat a few blueberries. So I'm like, I got my carb fix. But yeah, why do you need to have something sweet all the time? I'm not a big water drinker and I do like flavor, but I'm happy to put a slice of lemon, lime, or a chunk of berries in there just to give it some taste. Doesn't have to be sweet, but
yeah,
you got to ask yourself that if you're carb addicted, maybe you do want that sweet taste. But I'm a true believer in, we all have our things we struggle with, but if you can make changes and do better.
I mean, we did it.
I would get rid of the artificial sweeteners. Plus, the other thing is that they mess up your gut microbiome. I do know that from some experts. And they give you a lot of gas and not so healthy for the gut microbiome as well.
We did an informal survey at a crisis pregnancy center. The owner did. This is several years ago, of how much soda the average customer that they saw, which is, largely early 20s and teenage women. And it was like 64 or 84 ounces a day. That's a problem.
Well,
and I don't care if it's sugar free or whatever. That's a problem. That's going to cause really bad things to happen.
I remember reading that they did a study on that, on like pretty much the same thing. And some of the books I've read on the soda consumption in the U.S. per person, how much it is. It is really gross. I forget how many liters per day per person it is. That is a problem.
Yeah, if there's one dietary change you could make instantaneously, is to drink zero sugar and zero artificial sweeteners.
Right.
And just learn how to drink water and like it. I mean, I think, and guess what? If you listen to today's episode of Truth Bomb, you'll realize that we're not all 3 cups away from being dehydrated. That's not the issue. It's that we drink garbage instead of drinking water. That's the bottom line.
I think.
And I'm as guilty of this as everybody else.
From watching people, while we've worked over the years, and that whole need for people to, I think almost an oral fixation where they have to have like a straw or something going in their mouth continuously. So if it can't be food, it's got to be a cup with a straw, or whether it's your Starbucks or your soda with the straw, or you with your, favorite Montana whiskey by your side at night. But I think that's a thing for people where they have to be, they get used to consuming.
I had a patient.
So it's soda.
I had a patient a million years ago, and she's like, "How come I can't lose weight?" And she is sitting in the office with a 1.5 liter bottle of Mountain Dew. And I said, "How much of that do you drink?" And I don't know, it was like 4 or 5 liters of Mountain Dew a day. I said, "Drink none, zero, just drink water." And she got pissed. She said, "Well, you're taking away my only vice." And I'm like, "Oh, you get a vice?" Yeah. Like, where does that say? Is it like on the back of your driver's license? Does it say you get a vice? And luckily you didn't get the heroin vice. You got the Mountain Dew vice. No, you don't get a vice.
Oh, okay. Can I take your vice away?
Well, whatever. I mean, you're asking me for advice on how to do something, and I give you the easiest, most practical solution to that problem, and you're pissed off. And I'm like, whatever. I mean, do what you want, but like,
just her saying she wasn't ready to give up that one thing.
That's exactly right. But literally, she was consuming her entire day's calorie load, about 2,100 calories.
I had someone else
in soda
that was diabetic that had the same thing.
And that was not unusual. That was not an unusual occurrence.
Oh, yeah. She would take a 12-pack and she quit, and it made a huge difference. Not only that, but fructose and high fructose corn syrup is not metabolized the same as sugar, which is sucrose. It actually drives you to store and convert it into fat, and it signals you to hold on to fat more than regular sucrose, believe it or not. So
it does, which is interesting because fructose is fruit sugar. Another reason to believe what I believe, that fruit is largely horseshit.
Well,
fruit is a great treat because it's like an apple's like 100 calories with tons of fiber. So it's going to slowly release. And if you need something sweet, it's better to eat than candy, which is like supercharged, but it's still fructose.
Correct. Which still has nutrients in it.
I mean, people, I used to,
we argue about that. We argue about it all the time because it has vitamins and minerals, but you shouldn't be stuffing yourself with it. Correct.
This whole idea that you go on a fruit diet, I'm like, fruit is nature's dessert. Well, that's a
same
fine
with the
thing.
Wonder Bread and the white buns.
Well, of course.
There you go.
Yeah, of course. I'm not disagreeing.
White buns are horseshit, Tim. White bread is bad.
Yes, but it has less gluten than absolute horseshit is whole wheat bread. Yes. That is the most god-awful thing ever invented by the hands of man.
So Desiree says, I'm the same way. You know, there's times when I go through sugar cravings, but she says it's hard to pin down why she needs something sweet. Well, probably because your body is actually liking carbs, even though you don't know it. And then that dopamine hit, right? When you have something sweet that makes you feel good, even like it's like when I eat chocolate, it seems to last less and less in as far as duration
Man,
of time. So she
that's
drinks a
tasty.
ton of water, shots apple cider vinegar, and no soda. You're good, because if you mix a soda, especially baking soda and apple cider vinegar, you have yourself a homemade volcano.
You do.
Oh,
What
and
you
3
be?
cups of coffee. Yum. I love coffee.
No,
but get this. Okay.
No, coffee is
wait,
good. Coffee's good for you.
Speaking of apple cider
The other
vinegar
thing that's good
and
for you
soda is I had a patient, actually do and turn themselves into a human volcano, because this was the extreme case. She had such bad acid reflux, and so her hydrochloric acid in her stomach was very high, and she drank a ton of actual baking soda to try to neutralize it, and literally perforated a hole in her stomach, presented to the ER, to the hospital, with a perforation because of the baking soda consumption and such bad acid reflux disease. That's what they figured. So
wow.
chugging baking soda, I don't recommend.
Wow.
If you
So
have
she
really
never
bad
did the
acid
baking
reflux.
soda and vinegar volcano.
No, she just had her own vinegar in her stomach. Plus, there you go.
And then do some jumping
And
jacks.
she actually lived.
Do some jumping jacks.
Yes. Well, alrighty. Enough of that advice as we continue to consume our highly sugary cocktails. But
it's
totally
only
hypocrites.
99 calories per serving. They don't, the serving's only 1.5 ounces, which.
Anyway, this week I had a great truth bomb drop today. So if you haven't listened to our podcast Wednesday mornings, or I guess they're all day now when they come out there forever. This week's is all about heat and hydration. And if you have a kid in sports, you're in sports, you exercise outside in the summer at all, or you're worried about anybody overheating or dehydrating, you need to listen to that episode. And then tomorrow's podcast is coming out with part 2 with Daniel Wren, a financial advisor, talking about your personal finances, your motivation behind your finances, why we need money, why do we want to have money, how we spend money. It's all variable, and what are some wise decisions to make.
We need money for classic cars and motorcycles.
Mm-hmm. And that's where we disagree.
It's pretty
and so
easy.
We'll have to have a podcast on negotiation talks.
Negotiation. Yeah.
Maybe we can get a hostage negotiator to come in and mediate.
Right. Well, you also need inflatable paddle boards.
Mm-hmm. No, that's
coated in chicken blood and maple syrup.
Yeah, my paddle board is costing a lot less than your motorcycle and car, but I can't go as fast. And then we have some great interviews that we've done this with some guests that are going to be coming out in the future. We're super excited because we did talk with Dr. Sabine Hazen again today. She's the shit doctor from Let's Talk Shit, and she will be back on our show, as well as Ryan Heath's coming back soon.
He was on Monday.
Yes, actually, you're right. That's released already on the podcast Monday.
So if you don't want to listen to us drone on about Doctales, forward to 37 minutes, and Ryan is there, and it's a great episode.
Perfect. Other than that, we have lots of fun stuff on our Truth Serum newsletter that comes out Mondays, and some other fun photos of what we're doing this summer, some backstories, and your chance to get some discounts from some books that we read, or on Oregon Valley Farms. I've got a link in there. Other than that, any last thoughts, Tim?
No.
Stay
salty.
Can I say stay safe?
No, you got to stay salty.
Stay safe on your motorcycle.
You got, whatever. Yes, you got to be cautious, but like this idea of stay safe. Stay safe is the dumbest thing we've ever said to anybody. Stay safe. Like what? So I just like stay in my, like that whole thing through COVID. Stay safe. Well, how the hell am I supposed to stay safe?
It means wear a mask.
Oh yeah. Oh, become part of an experiment for the whole world, and you'll stay safe.
It means wear a mask.
You know, breathe through a used tampon that you've had on your face for the last, 3.5 months. Yeah, stay safe. It's like bite me, stay safe. Stay salty. That's way better.
You and Bill O'Reilly. Perfect ending. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.